Welcome. Here we are, Tuesday evening, and we have our friends Donna from North Carolina here, my buddy Linda Lombardo from Michigan, and Jan is here. Glad to be here. Winter is coming country where Jan is living, and my friend Ronnie is here. Ken's not here tonight. But thank you, Sam. I will tell him. It's he's babysitting an injured puppy tonight. So I am on my own, and my friend Linda from Ravina is here, and Maureen, welcome from Kansas. Tonight we have got, I'll tell you what, today has been a day. I feel like I haven't had a chance to breathe today. I'm first off very, very happy to be here because when I got up this morning, we had no internet. And after 4 hours of trying to find out why we had no internet, come to find out our modem was blown. At least that's what they told us. So, anyway, they said, don't worry, we'll get you a new one in the mail. It'll be there in 3 days. This is what happens when you live at the end of nowhere. We persevered though, and we got that modem and we got it in this afternoon. Oh my goodness, what a day it's been though. Oh, tonight we have three different templates for you. The first one we're going to work on is Circles on Quilts Wreath number 5. Now, this one is small compared to most of them. Most of the stuff that we've been working with the Circles on Quilts, the wreaths and such are 11.5 inches. And the other two that we're going to look at tonight are 11.5 inches. So this one is a small one, but it's also, guys, 24 rotations. Oh my goodness. So it's one of those ones that's going to definitely take a while. Hi, Carla from Oklahoma City. So nice to have you here. Now, as all of the other circles on quilts, the wreaths and stuff that we've been doing, we are going to use a tack. We are going as the template does go on a tack. We have the same markings A1, B, B1, and then we have the nice, beautiful edge lines to help us be sure we are going in the right direction. Now, with everything going on today, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I didn't have much of a chance to play with these. Okay. So, but we've been doing these so long, I don't even think we need to play with these before we actually come down and use them. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on there. Okay, turn that light on. I don't like turning it on at first because of the fact that it's going to glare. Here is our center, our vertical center line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at A, go down to B, come back to A1, and then I'm going to twist my template. Okay, let's make sure that works, guys. All right, here we go. I'm going to line up on reference line 1. And remember, this is 24 reference lines. That is a lot. But in case you guys don't know, and some of us, I guess, are lucky enough to have these, but we do have available the Ultimate 24. Yes, this is a 12.5 inch crosshair ruler. Turn that off so you can see. 24 points. 24-point crosshair roller. I'm telling you, I love this thing. I really do. So if you're going to do a lot of these types of templates, I think that's a must have. Okay. Well, Vonnie's here from Green Bay. Good to see you, Vonnie. Okay, let's go ahead and get everything lined up here and twisted around and turned around and make sure that we can see everything. All right, here we go. We're going to start at A. I'm going to start this way. Come down all the way to B. Then we're going to come back to A1. So let's get started. All right. And let's pull that thread up. Now that I've set my foot height, everything should be ready to go. All right. And find my foot pedal here. I've got a jumble going on. All right. Taking my one stitch in place, keeping things a little on the slow side because I want my stitches to be small. Come over to B1 and to B. Now, the reason we're doing that is because we are making that inside circle right here. Okay, gonna go ahead and get that thread out of here. And now I'm going to come back up to A1. Now, if you have a hard time seeing because of your fabric color, go ahead and put one of those nice, beautiful arrows on there that we have. And now we're just going to twist. And what you're going to see is we are now lined up on our next reference line. We have our first line of stitching is right here under this edged line for us to see. Lisa, hi. Lisa's joining us from Sugarland, Texas. Good to see you, Lisa. Okay, so here we go. Reference line 2. Again, keeping those stitches just a little shorter than normal. This is really a very pretty wreath. And what I like about it is it's nice and small. Whoops. And there we go. Back up to our A1. Slowing down when I get close to it. And twist. Now there's lots of fun things that we could do to say make this just a little bigger if you wanted to or needed to, but you didn't want to go all the way to 11.5 inches. And what that is you could take your circles on quilts sets and actually, ooh, I need to go up, went back one stitch here. And you could draw circles around the outside perimeter of this. Whoa. And that would just really make the circle cohesive and would add some interest to it. We're actually going to do that tonight on one of the templates that we're using. There we go. Make sure you've still got a good view of what I'm doing here. Now, oh, actually I came out just right. I was going to say if I came out a little bit short, that's not a big deal because we can always come in and stitch one stitch up to get ourselves back to where we want to be. And here we go. There's my A1. There we go. Perfect. I love it. Oh, look at this. I made a goof on when I was drawing out my reference lines here. Nice small stitches. Now remember, you're going to take a hesitation right here at B1, but don't linger there. And you're going to come back to B. Again, hesitation stitch, but don't linger. And the reason I'm telling you that is because if you linger too long, what's going to happen is you're going to end up with a knot on the other side, a little thread knot. Now, is it going to hurt anything? No, not really. It's not going to hurt anything. However, it will show. And remember, when we're working on quilts, we want the back of our quilts to be as pretty as the front of our quilts. Therefore, we're going to be careful not to linger too long in that area. And there we go. Back up to A1 and stop. Now there are different ways that you could do this. You could double up between A and A1 if you wanted and keep the rest of it single stitching. I prefer to have the inner part to be the double stitched line as opposed to the top. I don't know why, it's just me, it's a personal preference, and you could do it either way that you would like. Back up to A1. Now, these 24 point designs definitely take a little longer. They're not done too sweet like some of our other ones are, or our spinifex. You know, spinifex we could get done designs we could get done rather quickly, I think. But remember, this is a process. It's part of the process, and you want to enjoy the journey. You don't want to just rush through it. That's not why we do this. Okay, now let's take just one more look. I want to make sure that we're looking at these lines here because our line of stitching is coming perfectly under these edge lines. They help us out so much. That was one that I had to go up just one more stitch. And you see that didn't cause any problems. And back up to A1. We go. I always like to slow down when I get up towards the top. Of course, I tend to go slow the whole way, I guess. You know that you've heard me say sometimes with some of the templates that have a circle in the center, I like to come in with one of my simple circles and draw it so that I know exactly where I need to be going. I don't find it necessary with this particular template. It is very easy to come back and forth here, and it gets me where I need to go without any problems. Beautiful. Everything just lines up and matches up so beautifully, doesn't it? There we go. Okay, so I want what I want to make sure of is I'm making sure that this line is lined up. If you look here, I'm about a stitch away from the edge of the template, and it's more important to have that line lined up than go ahead and make that stitch to the template and come around. Here we go. And back up to A1. Let's learn that template. This time it's perfect. I personally really believe that a part of that is because our lines that we draw are not all perfect. What I mean by that is every line has a dimension to it. Some are a little thicker than others. I actually have a beautiful example of that coming up right here. I'm going to take this off for a second. I think this is worth mentioning. So if you look, you'll see the um, width of this line is smaller than the width of these two lines right here. These lines have a wider dimension than this one does. So when we line up our center vertical line, we can be off by just a stitch or two. And that's where going around or coming back on it is why we do that would make sense. Whoops, there we go. Okay, so I need to back off just one stitch there. I'm going to come up and around again. Now, I did find a new pen that works very well as far as a very, very thin line. However, it doesn't show up on camera. It's that thin. And so I can't use it when I'm showing you the different templates. I wish I could because it's awesome. The other thing is it is an air erasable, and I don't even know the name of it or the brand. I'm sorry. Um, but what I do know is that you can't mark out a whole quilt because by the time you get to the other side, the markings are going to be gone. So you may want to be careful about that when you're using an air erase pencil or air erase pen on your project. And I do know people who have marked out a whole quilt, come back the next morning, and every mark was gone. Had to do it all over again. But that's how we learn, isn't it? And we are about 3/4 of the way there. Isn't this gorgeous? This is just a very pretty little wreath. Okay, back up to A1. There we go. I'm getting better at controlling that needle when I want it down. It's only taken me, what, 7, 8 years to figure out how to do that. And back up to A1. And I got off a little bit down here in the center. I'm not going to worry about that. That's why they call it practice, right? I'm not perfect, guys. Far from it. I get excited when it meets up perfectly like that. Okay, now, because I moved my finger, I also just moved my template just a hair. Okay, back on track. Almost done with this one. Now remember too, when I'm doing this, and I know you guys have heard me say this before, but I'm never quite sure when we have new people out there listening. So I kind of like to repeat these things. When I'm stitching for you, I am using an extremely high contrast thread. I want you to see everything that I'm doing, even my wiggles, wobbles, and mistakes. When I'm working on a project, a quilt that, or a wall hanging or such as that, I tend to get a thread that is more closely related to the fabrics that I'm using. And the reason why is because what you're going to see is more of the shadow and the texture of the stitching as opposed to the actual stitching itself. And that way, when we do have a wiggle and wobble, it's not the end of the world, right? Okay, we're going to take this, take a look at it. We want to make sure, and we are right on. We are right on. Trust the template. Okay. Now, we do not have to come back up to A1, do we? But I'll bet you all who know me know that I am going to do that. And the reason I'm going to do that is for consistency. And here we go. Right there is A1. We're going to take this little guy out. I'm going to leave the tag in. Isn't he cute? Give me just a second to take a look at him. What do you think? I want to see who else is here. Allison, welcome. Don't ever be apologizing for being late. Lee, hi. Lee says, I did mark a quilt with an erasable mark. Boy, was I surprised. I'll bet you were. Oh, yes. Okay, let's take a look. Let's come back up. Um, can you go back to the beginning so it's as dark as the rest? Sure you can, Valerie. Yes, you can. Um, if you go back to the beginning, so you're going to start here, come all the way around, and come up to A1 so you can turn. Now, the problem with going all the way back to the beginning, starting at A, come all the way around and all the way back is, well, no, that's not going to work either. You have to, then what you would do is you would come back to A1. So what would happen then is you would have a double line of stitching all the way through here, but you would have a triple line of stitching from here to here. Now, with that said, usually what we've always been told is that if you put 3 lines of stitching, it's not going to be as noticeable next to 2 lines of stitching as if you had 1 line of stitching next to 2 lines of stitching. So basically 3 lines of stitching is going to give you the same weight or balance as putting 2 lines of stitching all the way through. So that is one way that you can do this, Valerie. I hope that helps. Makes sense. Maureen says, can you show us the marking pen? Okay, let me dig it out here. and it is air and water soluble. Wrong way, Corrigan. And it's called Fine Line Disappearing Ink. And it is fine. Well, I guess you guys can see it. But you see, each line is exactly the same. Maybe it was just the fabric I had it on the last time that didn't show up very well. And it is very, very fine. I really like that. Oh, guys, I'm glad you like this. Now, I told you we might go ahead and embellish this off a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my circles on quilts here. I got the wrong one out. Okay, there we go. I'm going to grab this one. This is 5.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, hey, the first one I pulled out, I love it when I pull out the right one the first time. I am going to do a 6-inch line, a 6-inch circle around here. And we're going to check that out and see how it looks, okay? This doesn't take long at all. There we go. Remember, on the circles on quilt, you want to stay on one side or the other. And I'm going to stay on the inside. There we go. So that my needle is down before I move things or take my fingers, my hands off that template. That's really important. Um, and what I like about this is it just really, really finishes it off, kind of, if you have more space. There's a whole lot of different embellishments we could do, but then we'd be here all night. I don't mind, but my husband might. He'd be looking for me in about an hour and a half. Although I have a lot of catching up to do on the internet because we didn't have it all day today. Just kidding. I have a love-hate relationship with the internet. As much as I love it, I hate the time I waste on it. And then, of course, there's that one store. When things come, I go, "Oh, what did I get?" Oh, just happened today. Ken brought a box upstairs and says, "Oh, you've got a delivery." And I said, "Oh, I wish I could remember what it was." All righty. So there we go. Kind of a nice little addition, I think. Okay. Bonnie, yes, you're right. That would make a really nice template. And yes, Donna, this is a 5.5 inch. Oh, you're too funny. I love it. Donna says, okay, that answers my question if you're stitching a 6-inch circle. So what you could do here, I'm just gonna draw this out. I'm not gonna stitch the whole thing. But if you wanted to, you could I'm just gonna stitch a few I shouldn't say I'm not gonna stitch anything. I'm gonna stitch a few stitches here. Okay, and whoops, got my thread there. So you see I've got my lines coming out a little bit, yeah. There, that's all I'm gonna do. And I'm just gonna draw this out. And I'm gonna find my little magic marker. There it is. I still call 'em magic markers, they're Sharpies. But what you could do to after you put another ring on is you could come in and stitch like this between the rings, just to embellish it a little further. And you see, just by doing such small things makes such a big difference in the overall look of your design. And this is the fun part of doing rulers is we can kind of figure it out on the fly as we go and come up with all kinds of different ideas. And that's what makes it so much fun. Valerie, this is Circles on Quilts, Wreath number 5. That is the template that we just showed. Okay, I'll go ahead and take the tack out now because I'm done with this one. Like it? Definitely not. This is, you know how I say if I fail or not? That was definitely not a fail. Okay, here we go. Whoops, make sure I get that tack right in the center. This one is only going to need 16 reference lines. Well, come on. I had it once and then I lost it. There we go. So let's take a look at the next one. The next one we're going to do is the number 6. It's the number 6 wreath. And that is going to be this wreath right here. Now we're going to do 6 and 7. They're very similar, but 6, and this is the reason I'm showing you this here, 6 has kind of a movement to it. 7 is more rigid. Okay, these are both 11.5 inch. So let's take a look at number 6 first. Now this does not have A, B, and back and forth. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to put this on reference line number 1. We are going to start here, come here, up and around, and end here, and then we're going to come over to our side. Okay? So let's no. Mm, mm, yeah, just wanted to double check here. I do have stable tape on both sides of this template. I have used this template before. Mhm. And it just simply is because it has this curve in it, and it's which way you want this template to kind of, uh, have movement. Okay, hesitation stitch right here. Remember, don't camp out there, just a hesitation stitch. There we go. Well, goodness, I need to back us up a little bit. This one's a little bigger, isn't it? There we go. Oh, thank you, Linda. Linda answered Valerie's question for me. I appreciate that. Okay, around we're gonna go. What I like about these single templates or these single run templates, if you want to call it that, is that the thread weight is small. It's just one line of thread. And what you can do is you can use different weights of thread to get that to get those different the word I'm looking for. If you want a bolder look, you can use a heavier thread. Okay. Now I'm going to come up and around this way. I don't know if it really matters which way you come up and around. But if this thread that I'm using right here is a 40 weight thread. Now with thread, the smaller the number, the heavier the thread is going to be. A 40 weight thread or a 50 weight thread is good, basic, all around thread. It's what people use, right? But say I was doing something very delicate. If I was doing something very delicate, then what I would want would be a lighter weight thread, in which case I might use a silk 100-weight thread. And that's going to be about as big as a human hair. It's really, really thin, guys. I've sewn with it. Personally, I think it's extremely difficult to sew with. But there are 80 weight threads that can give a beautiful, very delicate looking stitch out for you. Or if you are doing something, and this is usually, I say it's for the holidays. When we do Christmas things, we want glitz, right? So then what I'll do is I'll get like a size 12 weight and I'll get it in something metallic so that it shimmers and it shines. And I will use that for my Christmas projects. Okay, we're going to come back here and come back over one more stitch. There we go. And we're right here. Isn't this I think this is elegant. This is an elegant design. It's just got a very simple movement. And I came off of my template just a little bit here. In the real world, I would not be too concerned about that because chances are nobody's going to notice it, quite honestly. Okay, come back down, close up that circle, and come back. There we go. And we're going to make another. And I'll go ahead and try and speed up a little now. I wonder if I wouldn't be better off turning my template around. This is a big template. These are big petals, I think, on a flower. Well, if I turn it around, no, that's not going to work either, guys. I'm going to keep it just like this for you, okay? We have our beautiful etched lines, which help us to know that we are exactly where we need to be. There we go. This template actually should have 3 sets of staple tape because I should be moving my hands. I'm stretching my fingers a long way here. And what that does is that sets me up to move that template when I don't want to. So having that third set of stable tape would alleviate that issue. There we go. Very easy template to work with. Would I consider this a beginner's template? Yes, I would consider beginners to be able to easily accomplish this successfully. You notice I do slow down when I get towards this little cliff here. I call it a cliff because I don't want to fall off of the cliff. Come back and needle down. And remember, keeping your stitches shorter is going to make your curves look smoother. I almost said curvier. That would have been a silly word. There we go. Almost all the way around with this one. Now with this template, we're going to turn it over and we're actually going to make a circle that is just going to skim each one of these petals. You know what I just realized? Oops. No, that's wrong. Okay, never mind. When we come back, we should be coming back here. And then we should be going across like that. Okay? I can't believe I did that. So we're going to do that again. We're going to come around. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this a little bit. So we're going to come right off that cliff back to where we started, just like that. And then we're going to come over on this and stop. I'm sorry, guys. That was just a faux pas on my behalf. I'll show you again. Okay, so here we go. This is not a hard reach to make. We're going to come just like that and then around. There we go. One more. We're going to come down and around like this. We're going to make that right in here to close that up. And then we're going to come here. Okay. So this is the way our petals are going to meet. All right. Just like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn this over. And what you're going to see is I have a little arrow here. Now, all things being equal, if this measures a 1/2 an inch here, which it should, it doesn't quite. What would happen is the 1/4 of an inch. There we go. I get that out of there. You know what? I think this was a separate it does not show it back here with the line around it. So this must have been a separate line, just like the circle that I did. Okay, so that's 11.5 inches. So let's see if I've got an 11.5 inch circles on quilts. And let's see if that works, okay? You know what? It's perfect. So that's exactly how that's going to work. So in order to do it the way that the picture shows, we're going to take our 11.5 inch circles on quilts and around we're going to come. Whoops, get that thread out of the way. Well, this is a little different than the first one we did. The first one, we actually had space between the petals and the circle around it. This one, we're going to be just brushing the top of the circle. Or we're going to brush the top of the petals with the circle. Oh, you guys know what I'm trying to say, right? And around we're going to go. We had so many opportunities with all the different templates that we have. We'll get that out of the way before it ends up on the floor. Now, would that surprise anyone? If I dropped something? Okay, off we go. And I think you get the idea. We'll go ahead. And there we go. With this beautiful, nice template, which shows those nice pointed um, petals reaching the center. Okay, so now the next one we're going to show you, and this was number 6, is number 7. Now, number 7 is basically the same, except that it is straight on and not off to the side at all. Okay, so we're going to use the same method as we did. What you'll see is that we will, let's get this in first. And I want to check for any questions or comments. Hopefully, there's no rotten tomatoes thrown at the screen. Oh, you guys, it's been a day. It has been a day. Okay, here we go. Circles on Quilts number 7. Let's take oh, hi, Charlene. Okay, Maureen. Okay. Let's what happened? Okay, you disappeared, guys. Okay. Jan, is the 24 part of deal? Try it. What do I got to say? Try it. Maybe it'll work. Okay. Um, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. What I think is going to happen is not always what happens. So I always say, go for it. Um, yes, Donna, we do have absolutely fabulous Black Friday sales. You're absolutely right. And this week, for the 6 weeks of holiday deals, we are on week number 3. And if you purchase the gold pinwheel set die for your AccuQuilt cutter, you get a free spinning ribbon embroidery collection. That is a really good deal because the embroidery collections are usually a little pricier. Okay. Oh, Jan, you're too funny. Maureen, could you put out the rotation between the ones you have made? You know what? Yes, you certainly could, Maureen. What you would do is you would just basically start all over again, but that would work. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so here we go. We have got 16 rotations here. We are doing our wreath number 7. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and yank that bobbin thread up. I hope. At least we're going to try. Okay. Now, gonna line ourselves up and off we go. Okay. Now, there is something you're going to want to be careful of. This is always something we need to be conscious of. Although most of the newer thread or needle channels are shorter, are smaller than this. But what I did here was actually on purpose, okay? Because this is not a hard spot to skip over. And I'm going to show you on the next rotation. And it's also one of the reasons that I have 2 pieces of stable tape here, because you want to keep everything nice and even. Now, just like the 6, the wreath 6, we're going to come down first and meet our petal. Then we're going to stitch over to the side, which is going to bring us to our next reference line. Then we are going to take our template, move it back just a little bit so you can see it. And we are going to line up our center line here with our reference line. So now we're going to come here. And this is what I mean when I say float past that. Okay. Don't push your foot towards this. You just want to keep it nice and even And there we go. And now we've kept that petal nice and smooth. Is that hard to do? No, it really is not hard to do. But the difference you can see is enormous as far as how the final petal looks. And here we go again. Remember, we're going to float right down to that center. We're not going to come off of this little cliff right here, right back. Then we're going to go over to the side and stop. This is not difficult, guys. It really isn't. I'm just going to get that out of the way. Off we go again. Now, I have said it once. I've probably said it, 10 times or so. Remember, do not push your foot against the template and do not push your template against the foot. This template will make sure that you do neither. Okay. Because if you do either, you're going to end up either over here with this big old knot like I did on that first one, or where you're going to end up falling off that cliff down at the bottom. So it's just really important to pay attention. There we go. And now we're going to stitch over. And back to the center. There we go. And I made a little wobble there. And the reason I did was because I wasn't trusting the template. You have to trust the template. That's what happens when you don't. Okay. And right back to center. And over to the next reference line, making sure your needle is down. Okay, now, if you don't want to trust the template, use your spacing gauge. Then you know. That's kind of like suspenders in a belt, but that's okay. Some of us are like that. It doesn't look like it's going to work, but it does work. Isn't that cool? I know that sometimes it makes me really nervous, but it always works out. Slow down when you get to this point. Take your time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Again, check with your spacing gauge if you're not sure. And if you're off just a little bit, it's okay. You can make that adjustment a little bit here too. Okay, there we go. Remember, load over that opening. And then come all the way down. Now, there is one other advantage that you will have that I don't. And that advantage is you're likely going to have your sewing machine light on. I don't. And the reason I don't is because it would blind out most of what you're seeing, and I don't want to do that. So what I have is I have a side light on here, and the side light throws some distinctive shadows, strange, different shadows. So sometimes what I'm seeing isn't exactly what I think I'm seeing. Because what happens is my etched lines are showing in a little bit of a shadow. That's another reason why it's very important to make sure you have the right side of the template down on top of your fabric. Oh, go ahead and get that one down. Well, hello. There you go. And again, don't be afraid to use this. Off we go. We're just going to do one more here after this. Number 6 and number 7 are so very similar. As I said, the only thing is that this one is straight on. The other one has a little bit of a curve in the bottom of it, which gives it a little movement. Otherwise, basically, they're done the same way. Now we're going to move that over just a little bit. There we go. And if you were only doing a half of a circle, you certainly could do that with this. And what I would do is I would end it right here. I would have started it right there also. But you can see that you can use it. It doesn't have to be a complete wreath. It can be a half of a wreath. So if you were to take this part out, what you have is a beautiful looking sunrise, isn't it? Kind of cool. Let's take a look at the comments that you have for me, okay? Oh, Arcella? Arcelli. Okay, Arcelli. Oh, no, we are using tonight we are using the templates number 5, 6, and 7. Okay. Allison, I don't see the link to these templates. Oh my goodness. Here is number 5. Okay. 1, 2, 3. There we go. One more. We're waiting for it. There we go. Here is number 6. I'm sorry. Usually I try to get those a couple of times throughout. And here is number 7. There we go. Let's move back up. Allison, we've got the links now. Okay. Okay. What's not working? Uh, Oh, Jan tried the 24-point ruler. Okay, that's what's not working. Yeah, I didn't know if it would or not. Kendra, hi. You tried to use the discount code and it does not work. Now, is that on the 24 count crosshair ruler? Because it certainly should work on on the wreath templates that we showed tonight. All right. And let's see. Well, Linda Lombardo, you are so welcome. You know, I love doing this. Yeah, okay, hey, Cactus Deb, I didn't see you come in. Okay, Donna, show all three again. I'd be happy to do that. Okay. Henry didn't work on the templates. Did you use Steel Day 20 in the code? Oh, you know what? We will need to call in the morning and let them know that it did not work. We haven't had that problem for a very long time. Okay, circles on quilts, wreath number 5. There it is. And this is the one that we did here and just playing with. Whoops. There we go. So that is the wreath number 5. It is 5.5 inch. Okay, I'm getting all tangled up in threads here. And then the wreath number 6 template. The wreath number 6 template is this one here. And you can see nice movement in those petals. And I realize that the picture here has that circle around it, but that is not part of the template. Okay, that we did with a separate template. We did that with circles on quilts. Okay, there's 5. Oh, let me see. Oh, there's 6. Okay. No, where did it go? Right here. All right. And then we showed you wreath number 7. And this was wreath number 7. And this, what we showed you was a sunrise with wreath number 7. There we go. You are also welcome. I will, Kendra, I will call first thing in the morning and let them know that the code didn't work tonight. I apologize. I'm so sorry. We haven't had that problem in a very long time. I hope that you've enjoyed tonight's live. I've really enjoyed bringing it to you. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and share. That's always very helpful. And we will see you at 8 a.m. Central Time tomorrow morning with more of the grand leaf designs. So until then, let's go.